Okay, let me just check your attendance quickly. So, something is writing here. Yes. Good morning, Miss Manal. So I just want you to comment here in our comment chat box. Check your attendance. Okay, can you comment your answer for this for me to recognize you and then to check your attendance also? What makes you happy or what makes you smile? Okay, class, nakita ninyo ang question? Nathaniel?
Yes, sir. Nakita, sir.
Okay, so you can drop lang your answer din later on, ha? Or pwede na karon. It's just a short answer for me to check your attendance, okay? I proceed to automatic with our focus today, which is these two presentations. Natay two sets of presentations, then later after, natay midterm quiz 1 and then midterm quiz 2. These are all shorts. These are for the assessments. Let's see if nakapalo ta sa atong presentation and discussion today. And also, a good thing kay I'll be discussing to you and then giving you the pointers for your midterm exam next week. So all you have to do is to follow and then familiar, especially nga ako lang siyang i-present all the description and then examples here. Okay? And then I will not be posting, I'll just give you in advance information, ha. I'll not be posting these two presentations, kaya ako lang siyang make sure nga complete to ang mga information sa slides. Okay? Let me know if I'm clear, I'm audible, everyone.
Clear, sir.
Yes, sir. Palo lang, ha. By the way, so very early, you can still eat your breakfast there. So you can do chilling lang part there while listening and then following sa atong discussion. By the way, are you aware that our exam is next week na?
Sir, so wala class yan.
Yes. Someone is asking.
Wala class yan, sir, or something may activity?
Unsa na siya sa? Unsa yung something activity there? Next week?
Sir, sorry sir, napisitan ako and katong kuan mo sir, di ba anak ka nga sir, next week kay intrams?
Wala ko nag-mention yung intrams.
Hala sir, lutang, jigay ko sa bagong mata. Hala, exams di ay. Hala sir.
After,
Sorry, Diyos ka ay.
mag-week early ba kayo?
Sir, early o, gaya mong klase sir, way mong gudingan na. Natingal ako intrams. Hala. Sir, sorry, Diyos ka sir.
That's okay. Maybe ang intrams man siguro na ato yung mga activities gapon. Though pandemic siya, pero na yung mga activities for one. I don't know if it is good for 3 days or 1 week. But after na siya sa atong midterm nga exam. Okay? Kaya ma-settle na yun mo. Okay, nakalangga.
Yes, sir. Sir, may pagiputo na lang ko sa pader. Makaulo ka.
That's okay. Okay lang na siya. Again, na natay quiz 1 and 2 right after sa atong discussion today. So maybe let's proceed na automatic. So I'll not be checking one by one your attendance. I just want you to answer the question there nga akong gidrop in your chat box. Then later I will check that one. By the way, visible in akong screen, in your screen. Is it visible already?
Sir, yes, sir.
Okay, very good. I can see urag daghan pa kayo karon panimata. So, mga gutom pa siguro no. Again, you can eat your breakfast there. while listening sa atong discussion. And if you want to take note, kaya there are mga important terms and then makuha ninyo. At ang exam is either situational, identification, and then enumeration. Okay? So, still, nagya ko na exam, Google Forms, written exam. But maybe later sa semifinals and finals, we might decide nga more into practicum na dayon siya para makafocus na into this movement. The application of our discussions from prelim to midterm. So let's have it now. We have here the movement, the term movement. So we'll not focus on the movement education, okay, that's very general and then broad topic. But maybe we'll just focus on this for Pact 1 in the midterm, the word movement. So when you say movement, kadili kita maglibog later on sa two examinations kaya there are so many description when we say movement. But we'll try to focus lang on this. When we say movement, it's more on the total package or having the foundation of all physical activities. Do you agree on this, class? Okay, very good. Yes. Based on these pictures below, the example below here, as you can see, there are a lot. Either the movement changing into position or the motion itself, makita man nato siya, though naka-freeze sila, but then again, wala na ay something a movement, illusions there na makita nato. So again, it is a foundation of all physical activities, and then this includes movement concepts. So there are so many movement concepts, sub-areas, and class. So what are those? So there are 4: body awareness, spatial awareness, qualities of movement, and its relationship. And then as you can see, there are corresponding numbers there. So it means that there are sub-areas or subtopics na we need nato to consider in remembering the terms. For example, in body awareness, there are 5. Spatial is there are 6. Qualities, there are 4. And maybe later I'll just give you the full description of this relationship. So let's proceed now. But before that, before knowing the 4 movement concept, we'll try to understand first the importance of this movement. So for the physical education, expect that there are so many practicum activities right after sa mga basic and then theories na introduction. And then there are 4 statements here that describe how important understanding movement. Of course, for the students and for us, our focus is human. Our focus is your development and an improvement in the pathway nga journey. So of course, it can help you kung mag-start with a basic introduction, start na knowing the theories, start na knowing the terminologies, and then once mag-practice na nato sila, we can actually achieve this statement number 1. It helps people move, or it helps the student move efficiently. And then there are number 3. This relates to there's mga statement na improving and then enhancing the level of our performances. Of course, one thing to consider always good is right after knowing the basic terminologies, we have to practice. Aside from being observant, we have to practice, try, and then master everything. That's the reason why ma-improve yun every time na atay mga practicum activities. And then we have for number 4, you expect that there are so many benefits and impact na makuha nato every time we conduct either physical activities or any other movement. So we should know how to appreciate. In the effective objective nato class, we have there the emotional aspect. So we should know how to appreciate, we should know how to select what is best for us, and also to recognize the benefits to them. So this is a general factor. I believe you're familiar, and then makarelate money because you're in the paramedical courses. You're the pharmacy student, and I know mga anatomy. Do you have anatomy class or anatomy subject?
Second set po, sir.
Yes, very good. Nag-advance na utanaw sa inyong mga perspectives. Iyan, atay mga topic like anatomy. So it's more on studying aside from the body parts, kanaging the very deep na katong instead of interpreting this one katong mga basic terms, but katong naging siya mga grabe na kaayo nga mga complicated nga terms. So aside from that is na mga study between the movement. For example, kaning specific nga body parts, if kani siya mag-move, what are the muscles or bones nga that are involved there. So na yung mga niya nga study in the anak. So you expect for that. So here there are mga general factor affecting or influencing movement. Most of them is we have their movement involves most of the systems of the body. Do you agree in this statement? Okay, why did you say so? Movement involves most of the systems. Yes, nahilom na si Kuan. Okay, very good. Yes, dapat siya well-coordinated. Tanan nato nga mga systems or either mga body parts. Responsible man nato nga systems, especially when we move. Okay? So you expect na if you want to master, or if you want to practice, or if you want to exercise our body nga mga, body parts, we expect na atong mga benefits na is nagyapon siya ang atong improvement or even the maintenance of our fitness is always yun na naa siya din ha. Okay? So all movement is governed by certain mechanical principles. So when we say mechanical principles, these are usually mga combinations of linear and then angular motions. Okay? As you can see the picture here, kani siya. So it represents kanang running kanang event or running a position. As you can see, dili siya naka-standing straight. But when we say mechanical principles, either naka-move into motion, like some parts of the body is naka-forward and then others is naka-backward. Something like that. And then fear, anxiety, self-confidence can alter the movement. Yes, this is very true for the students, especially for those wala pa kayo na boost and then na-develop ang mga self-confidence. We either maapektuhan yun itong mga performances. Kung mag-face na in the crowd or even recite in front of your classmates or your teachers. So maybe kung you have this fear, we have this anxiety in performing, so you expect na maapektuhan yun, either ma-distract or either mas dili kayo nice ang atong performances like that. And then, last is we have there the membership in a group can influence participation in physical activities. So I'll just give you an example for this class statement, for this class. So membership, for example, Ani is having that family or parents, which is very supportive and then engage into physical activities, and then your siblings, either you as a student, your family is the undergo or the engage into mga sports, heavy physical activities, mga dance or Zumba. So you expect na much more into physically active ang inyong family than those compare sa mga limited lang or dili kayo into good na mga physical activities. So mas more healthy, mas more physically active ang katong example kagadiyan na number 1. So that's it. Those are mga factors affecting this movement. So let's proceed now to the concept. I believe ako ni siyang na-mention there are 4 and then under this is natin mga sub-areas to consider. There are 5 in the body awareness, there are 6 in the spatial awareness, there are 4 in the qualities of movement, and then later we'll discuss the overall for the relationship. Okay? So we have here number 1. Kaganyan na-mention ako body awareness, there's always number 1 like this, naming and locating of body parts. These are all specific class ha. When we say body awareness, are we aware of our movement? Are we aware nga itong mga parts is kani siya? Are we aware nga nag-coordinate ba ito ang mga movement? Okay? So when we say a body awareness, there's always the question na ma-encounter na to class. So in body awareness, what the body can do. Okay? If it is situational lang ito ang mga questions in your exam, naman ito yung mga situational questions. So always yun na to siya ma-relate ang kaning body awareness to what the body can do, which is understanding what the body does during movement. So unsay ginabuhat kung mag-move to some parts of our body regions. So be specific. Naming and locating of body parts, we have there the head, kani sila. foot, knee, elbow, shoulder, hand, leg, arm, hip, and then waist. So this is the number one. So compared to this number two, it is very different. We have there the body shapes and positions. Kanya, it's more on the movement specific with our body parts. Here is, yes, we conduct movement, but at the end of the day, we can be able to have these mga body shapes and positions, different positions. Either these specific na mga terms, we have the curve, straight na mga movement or positions, wide shapes, symmetrical, and then asymmetrical. So just to remind you, class, that various body shapes and the ability to vary the position of the body according to the task is important. Okay? So once maka-achieve that like this, for example, these are advanced, flexible nga mga positions. So once kali maka-achieve that ng aning mga positions, it somehow nga makapa-add beauty, either nice and then effective ang ato ang movement. Okay? So that's number 2 in the body awareness. Number 3 is to have the movement of the body. Usually, common na ni siya, I guess, for the sciences or the movement itself. There are terms like this, flexion, extension, rotation, kaning sila mga supination, pronation, abduction, and then adduction. So these are all parts in the movements of the body specifically. Okay, as you can see as a sample picture below, so there are these mga extension of their movement. There are these mga flexion, rotation. Though di na nato siya makuhaan kids because naka-steady atong naka-static lang ang ilang movement. But then again, we can realize that when at the end of the day, there is a rotation, there is a supination ng mga position, pronation, and then adduction, abduction. So I'll just give you mga additional terms. When we say flexion, it's more on mga flexing or bending of our body parts. And then extension is different. It's more on extending, extending, straightening the body parts. One good example ng extension, para dali rin natin siya ma-identify, is kanang game na patentero. So, do you know the game? Familiar mo na game, class? Pharmacy?
Sir, balika daw, sir.
The game, example for this is kanang game nga patentero.
Sir, familiar
Okay.
me, sir.
Familiar,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes, I believe you're familiar. But I don't know kung ano ba yung term nga English, ana. So yes, I believe you are familiar. So one way to consider ma-relate na to siya with this straightening or extension nga term, it's because our aim there for us to block that opponent, usually para dili sila makapass, is you have to extend sideways, straighten your hands, and then open wide ang ato ang mga legs. Okay? For us to easily block your opponent. So that's one good example for this extension nga term in the movements of the body. So we have also here the rotation. So in every movements or every positions or executions, para nice siya or i-advance, nagyo tayong mga activities like turning, switching, na siya swinging. So those are best for this rotation nga example. Supination and pronation, yes, I believe you're aware of this. When we say supine, nakahayang siya, and then if it is prone or pronation, there are mga positions like this na nakakulog. Either your chest facing the floor, just like that. And then adduction, abduction. When we say adduction, these are mga executions na your hands is away from your body. And then abduction is opposite to this adduction. Moving your hands towards your body. But that's it. It's very easy nga mga terms. This is number 4 for the body awareness. We have their body as communicator. Remember, class, that the description here, it goes like this: communication of feelings, ideas, interpretations through body postures, gestures, and movement. So remember, class, that the body is a medium of communication. So that's why it's called Interpretations, there are mga activities like interpretations. If it is performances, not naman interpretations na term. So through the actions of our body, we're able to express our feelings or ideas. Okay? Those facial na mga expressions nato, our gestures, posture, and movement, dako ito sila impact to help us convey our emotions. Okay? Those belongs to this body as a communicator, which also consider as the body is a medium of communication. I guess this is the last, number 5 for the body awareness, being aware of our muscles, if it is tense and then relax. Okay, there are positions like this, for example. I mean, natin mga activities, and then I'll just consider this an example ng kaning picture. There are mga movement like this nga your body or some parts of your body are tense, and there are also parts of your body that are relaxed. We can say nga relax siya kung nice, dili wobble ang ato ang mga performances or executions. But then again, if dili ta unstable and then dili ta makabalance, so expect nga tense kayo ang ato ang mga muscle parts ana. Okay? So that belongs to the body awareness. So let's proceed now to the number 2, movement concept. We have here the spatial awareness. So kaganiya na atay question for this number 1, which is the body awareness, now what the body can do. Now we have here, where does the body move? So in spatial awareness class, it helps us individuals to understand where the body can move and how to move successfully in a variety of activities. Okay, there are mga team or group nga mga performances. Let's see in the spatial awareness kung asa yun ito ang mga direction, atong levels, atong range of performances. So we have here number 1, the self-space or personal space. So in every activities class, either group, so we have to make sure na we can still maintain the personal space in our own. So as a description here is stated, so there are areas immediately surrounding a person, or this or the area immediately surrounding a person, including the area that can be reached by extending parts of the body. So you expect na there are mga specifics, there are space for you. Okay? Maintaining the self-space, even though grabe kayo ang crowd, but maintaining the self-space is important for us to avoid either commotions or collisions. Okay? So that's for the self-space or personal space, the area that can be reached by extending the body parts of the body, commonly for performances. Next is we have here the general space. When we say general space, this is different from that self-space or the personal space. Okay? So this is the total area. Inipingog ng dinosaur. I don't mind that background noise, guys. Okay, we have here for the general space, a total area within which an individual or individuals can move. So it means by this description palang daan, relate na siya with that spatial space, for example. For example, ano yung general space class is kanang gym, where pwede ta mag-perform as a group, pwede ta mag-play as a group. So kanang gym, natay mga boundaries, there are mga lines na kung asa lang ta pwede. So usually na yung mga performances, group performances in that general space na kailangan nato i-maintain atong self-space. You know what I mean? Okay. I believe easier for us to understand or to identify what's the difference between these two. Having this personal space and then general space. And then number 3 is we have here the direction. Individual usually can move in many, by the way, sabang kaayo class, ang iro. Maka-disturb siya sa inyo class.
Madunggan naman ka, sir.
Di naman sir, kay sabak ko na mong iro.
Okay, later kung baon na nato. Okay. Let's continue with this. I guess this is number 3, sub-areas for that spatial awareness. So we have here the direction. So usually it's more on the individual can move in many different directions. Yes. especially when we do performance. So if you want nga efficient and nice ato ang mga movement executions, so we should know how to change our positions and then our directions. And then dapat siya nice, graceful ang imong mga changing from one place ng mga directions. Including these mga forward, backward, upward, downward, or left, right na mga direction. So ang iyang mga transition is dapat siya graceful. Okay? So this belongs to the spatial awareness. Okay? Knowing man the question nga, where does the body move? So it means naging mga proper or graceful ng mga directions nga itong i-follow. So we have here the spatial awareness, the levels. So expect that in your exam next week, or maybe, I guess nagtatag na siguro ko sa inyong quiz today. So there are mga pictures, identification, nga ato siyang ato siyang i-identify if it is in the high level, middle level, or the low level execution. Again, levels, it refers to the horizontal areas in space, describing in relation to the standing body. So describing in relation to the standing body, let's assume nga naka-standing position is your class. And then sa levels is na ato siya yung mga kailangan nato i-identify. For example, ang high level. Ang high level are usually movement in the area above the shoulder. And then the middle level is there are mga movement nga in the area, specific area in between your hip and then shoulder. And then ang low level, these are the area below your hip. Okay? So for example, I give you a sample picture like this. Kung kani siya nga execution, knowing nga kaganiya, ako to siyang gipang describe ang different nga levels, asa man ninyo siya pwede ma-identify. Is it in the high, middle, or low level? Asa man siya pwede class? Kani siya nga picture. I mean, kani siya nga execution. Is it in the high, middle, or low level? Pharmacy 1B?
Middle, sir.
Okay, yes.
Hi, sir.
Okay,
Bitaw
very
ko
good.
middle, sir.
Okay, that's correct answer. That's middle level. So always siya, remember nga naka-standing position, straight ni siya ang iyahang other leg. So kani, so na siya support. And then most of these, ang kani siya nga execution, if you're going to describe this one or interpret this one, so na siya sa middle level, in between sa iyang hip and then shoulder nga execution or movement. So another example is this picture. Oh, asa man siya nabilong? Is it in the high, middle, or low? Let's do the practice for a short.
Hi, sir.
Again. How are you going to interpret this movement? Is it in the high, low, or middle?
Low, sir.
Okay, very good. Yes, correct. So this is the execution is in the area below the hip. So as you can see, wala man siya naka-standing position using the support base of kaning tiil. So he's using his hands. So you expect nga low yun ang iyang executions or movement like this. Okay? But don't mind this picture. Pwede na to siya ma-sample here sa tong pathways. So pathways, I guess this is number 5 example sub-area in this spatial awareness. So when we say pathways, these are usually mga line movement from one point to another, either on the ground or in the air. So there are mga descriptions or something ideas when we say pathway. Ang pathway class, it's either a movement na naka-curve, naka-straight, or angular, or maybe mga zigzag, something like that, ng mga positions or movement. So that's for the pathways. Last is we have the range. Easy lang for us to remember this range kay naram tayo term na i-remember here. When we say range, it always refers to the extension of the body into self-space. So we have here the word extension. Ano siya? So as you can see from this one point, kani siyang pinaka-end point sa tiil sa girl. So wala sila na-extend, wala sila og something nga nagka-wide until nga ning-ani nga executions. Wala sila na ay illusion nga wala sila og nag-long ang ilang performances. When we say range class, it can also be described as either long and small nga mga movement, near and far, big and little, and then wide and narrow. Okay? Those are usually part or the description for this range. It's more on the word extension of the body or extension of the movement, either with the use of objects or within that group. Okay? So that's the idea for this range. I hope easy lang for you to identify later. You have your video presentation. I want you to listen to this. So I want you to observe and see how important for all of us to listen always or to listen sometimes to our body. Let's see what we get on this simple video in this scenario here. There's always a question, what is body awareness? So these are all basic. These are additional info for you to know and then discover some mga important na mga example. Okay.
What is body awareness? Okay, let's talk about our thoughts and feelings. Generally speaking, we tend to think of our bodies and minds as separate systems and believe they function for the most part independently. But think about that first date you went on with someone you were really trying to impress. While you're sitting there, you're trying to be all cool and totally in control of the situation, but secretly battling your anxiety and self-consciousness. And of course, it's your body that gives you away. You're sweating, feeling nauseous, your hands are shaking, and you might even lose the ability to construct sentences. Our thoughts and emotions can have profound physical effects on our body. And while we recognize some easily, it can be harder to realize that loneliness, stress, anxiety, anger, or unsolved trauma can also affect us physically. By learning to listen to what your body is telling you, you can discover what is being repressed or ignored in your psyche and how this is affecting your well-being. What happens if you bring up old memories? Do you feel warm and relaxed? Or do you feel like your chest gets tight and your stomach turns? What about your injuries? Do you always get injured on the same side? Do you get a lot of headaches? The practice of body awareness is about learning to connect to our body and listening to what it is telling us. It is also a very effective way to feel grounded and fully present without getting caught up in the stories that our minds love to run on repeat. The world of body awareness encompasses a variety of modalities that help you investigate how it feels to be, well, you. These different ways to explore your body's messages include body scan meditations, mindfulness-based body therapies, and even well-known practices like Tai Chi, yoga, or dance therapy. There's deep intelligence in your body that absolutely knows what you need in every moment. Now, it's just time to listen. Body awareness is just one of the themes that we explore at New Life Foundation to help us connect to ourselves and those around us. Get in touch for more information.
Okay, that's it. That's a very informative video presentation about this what is body awareness. So somehow it relates to that dimension class that I mentioned the last meeting about that dimension of wellness. There are 8, I guess. So usually here in the body awareness, somehow nagid siya yung mga something maapektuhan gid siya in terms of our emotions or some of our thinking. So if we always think for that negativity, so our performances or kanang appearance nato in our body awareness, in our body, so somehow maapektuhan din ang ato ang mga activities. Okay? So we have here another example for this personal space and the general space. This is an additional information kaya there are mga examples nga akong na-include ani gikan sa iya. Ay, thank you naman.
Hello, it's Coach Martinez from Lively Elementary and Irving ISD. Today we're talking about spatial awareness. That means being aware or mindful of the space around you. Think first about your personal space. That's the little bubble. Like if you draw a circle around yourself, your space is called your personal space because it belongs to you. No one should be inside of your personal space. Like when you get too close to somebody, you say, whoa, back up. That's because they're in your personal space. Now, the second part of spatial awareness is about the general space. That's the space that we share with each other. General means it's for everybody, but you still have to keep your personal space while you move around in the general space. Think for a second about places you go where there's a lot of people, an area or a place that you have to share with other people. Might be like a restaurant, store, might be when you go to school or another location, even inside of your own home, you're sharing that space with other people. So when you move around those spaces, you want to keep your personal space, but move and spread out all over the general space. Think about the grocery store for a second. When you have your grocery cart, maybe it's Walmart or Target or Kroger, grocery store like that, and you're pushing your cart, you don't want to take your cart and crash it into other people. That would be strange or weird. People would be sad with you. So when you're moving, you have to go around other people's carts. Or sometimes there's stuff in the aisle, you have to go around it. You don't want to crash and knock something over. So that's what we're talking about today is spatial awareness. Keeping your own personal space while sharing the general space as we move around without bumping or crashing into others. Think about it like this, a cookie. My favorite cookie is a chocolate chip cookie. You might have a different flavor like snickerdoodle or oatmeal raisin, but let's think first about a chocolate chip cookie. If you have a chocolate chip cookie, let's pretend this is my cookie, and it's nice and round, this is the general space. Now, when you're eating the cookie, you want to make sure that chocolate chips are spread out all over the place. If you, for instance, I'm going to draw some chocolate chips on my chocolate chip cookie. There you go. If there's only chocolate chips in one little bite, and I take a bite, it's going to be only chocolate. That's not a good cookie. That's just a mouthful of chocolate. Or if I take a bite over here, and there's no chocolate chips, then that's not a chocolate chip cookie either. So all of the chocolate chips need to spread out all over the space. A little here, a chocolate chip over there, a chocolate chip there, so that your cookie has all the chocolate chips spread out all over the place. Well, same thing for you. When you're moving in general space, you need to be spread out around so that you're not bumping or crashing into others. If you were inside a gym or a classroom, that would look like when you're playing maybe tag, you're moving without bumping or crashing into each other. Or if you're at the grocery store, then you're moving around the aisles without crashing into other carts. We want you to stay spread out. Recently, you've heard about social distancing. That means to stay spread out 6 feet away from each other. So when you're moving around different places or spaces, remember to maintain your own personal space while moving in the general space.
Okay, that's it. So I believe dali ra ninyo ma-identify ha, or I mean the two difference with this personal space and then general space. It's very important to maintain our personal space even though nag-perform ka in a group in that general space. Okay? So that's only a short, but then again, very big impact in terms of that terms. I guess we are done with this. Let's continue with number 3 and 4. And then, by the way, later on, ako i-add, I believe you're familiar with this now already, kaning types of exercise, and also the feet principles. Or do you have something to say with the video presentation? Did I give you a presentation? Did I give you a video nga clear? Class?
Clear, sir.
Okay, good. Very good. So later, if you have mga concerns or either mga violent reactions, you can raise that one. Can you see can you see now this presentation? Is it visible already?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So let's continue with these qualities of movement. So when we say qualities of movement class, these are usually mga basic lang. When we say qualities of movement, it's because either atong mga or every individual or students always they vary their movement by altering this important highlighted na mga terms. For example, mga body balance. We have adjusting the time or speed in our activities or our movement, and then the force used in the flow of the movement. In the qualities of movement class, there are mga specific terms na atong i-highlight here. For example, these are the 4 dimensions. So these are the 4 dimensions of quality of movement. We have here the balance, time, force, and flow. So when we say balance, it always refers to the stability of the movement. When we say stability of the movement, maintaining that equilibrium or the stable, either it is static or dynamic na type of balance. Okay, there are 2 types of balance man class. Always yun na siya. Either in the static and then either in the dynamic. Okay? When we say static, these are usually mga executions nga steady lang. So wala siya mga movement. And then opposite to this dynamic na balance, dynamic type of balance is those mga activities or movement, but then again, maintain pa o balance there. So we also have this balance is affected by the movement of the body parts and the use of objects. Okay, for example, below here. There are 2 kinds of doing this balance, either with the use of this object or kung wala mang galit. So always good na i-consider class when we say balance. It's a person balance is when the center of gravity is over the base of support. Okay, the center of our gravity using that base of support usually kani sila. So sir, asa ko comfortable? So usually either in the left or right. Okay? So the larger the base of support class, the more stable ang ato ang body. Even though na ay mga object na itong i-use or mga equipment na itong i-use, so we should know how to balance and get the momentum sa ato ang body. And then you have to make sure na unstable ang ato ang base, anak. So that's how important in the quality of movement ang kanyang balance. So we also have here the time. It always refers to the speed or pace of movement. The movement vary in a continuum from slow to fast. So remember class, in every mga trainings, usually successful good siya and then matawag na ito nga effective. Kung na ay mga changes or progression, always ato ang mga time, i-consider na nato. Especially kung if you want to develop or improve ato ang mga body, if you want a nice and good physique, so dili ito pwede mag-stick lang always ato ang program nga sir, always 30 minutes good siya for the whole year, 30 minutes lang yun akong time nga ginahatag for this training. So dili siya ning anak class. If you want something faster ang development and then improvement, you have to make sure nga time to time na siya changes with our kani siya atong highlighted term for the quality of movement. Okay? So either the speed, for example, speed or pace. So we have there mga usually trainings for running. So for you to adapt and then for you to improve your speed, always good to consider the changes of time, the increasing of time. Okay? So jump to this force. Energy required to move an object is termed force. So kani siya class, important niya po siya. That's why na-consider siya to be part of these qualities of movement. Force is initiated through muscular contraction. Yes, this is very true. When we say muscular contraction, example for this is kanang mga squats or push-up, weightlifting, kaya ka-construct ang either atong mga biceps and triceps. That's the reason why nga ka-develop siya. Okay? So giving force or effort is important. Kung weak ang atong body, how are you able to carry this mga big na mga amounts or equipment? For example, this dumbbell. So if wala yung mga force nga itong ihatag, so you expect na dili gid ka maka-carry on with this kung weak ang ato ang body. And then pulling ka ng car or mga pushing car, somehow like that. So need you na to force, the term force for that. And then the flow. Again, there are 4 qualities of movement dimensions. 1 is the balance, 2 is time, 3 3 is, we have there the force, and then 4 is the flow. So this is flow for the executions na siya class. I mean for every movement. So it has something to do with the ability to smoothly join together different movements. Refers to the continuity of the movement. So when we say continuity of the movement, based on the example here in the picture below, so we have here continuity of our movement from this position, para siya naka-sitting position but naka-back-tuck, okay, back-tumbling rollover. So from this position, going down to that sitting relaxed position. So how will you do that one? Of course, for us to be able to have this smoothly joined together with our movement, we have to make sure nga na ay force and then effort nga itong ihatag to this lower nga extremities na part para ma-carry na to itong body going down to this position. Okay? Same with this naka-blue nga executions nga person. So, para at least maka-proceed daw with this sitting relaxed position, you have to make sure na maghatag taog enough force para smooth ang ato ang combinations or movement. So that's it. So let's proceed now to the relationship. So this is now the overall description class. When we say relationship, it also relates also sa ato ang movement. More on understanding the position of the body parts relative to one another. So when we say relative to one another, either your positions or either your movement in your own or movement combination with the other nga mga person in a group. Okay? Kung nagka-coordinate well ba siya, for example, your body parts from your hands and then feet, if there are mga executions na kailangan siya idungan, so we should know how to be observant. Kung naka-coordinate ba sila, or naka-synchronize ba ang ato ang mga movement with our teammates or our group mates. Okay? And then there's also a description here. It's more on the relationship also of the body to objects. So if there are mga props, either with or without the use of that mga object or equipments, you have to make sure na appropriate na sila with our movement. Okay? So that's the rule here sa tong relationship nga movement concept. So how about this part? Are you familiar na with this already?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So I gave you the advancement siguro ng activity last time. It's more on knowing the type of exercise and also producing different na mga samples or executions. So I believe dili na kayo mo malibog in terms of identification aning tulo ka bo. Okay, there are I guess 20 items in the examination na you need to identify if it is it belongs to the isotonic or it belongs to isometric, or somehow it belongs to this third part na description type of exercise. So when we say isotonic class, who wants to read this? Kindly give me your family name if you want to read.
Malinaw,
Yes.
sir.
Yes, Malinaw, go.
Isotonic exercise. This aims to give muscles a tone which is done by conducting contraction and relaxation. It is part of the basic activities for physical education.
Okay, that's Malinaw, Angelica. No? Okay, good. So, kanila siya class, I'll just give you a short na lang for you to remember nga term para easy for you to identify ang kaning isotonic to the other nga mga type. So we have here more on toning kani siya. The word more on toning the muscles by conducting contraction ng mga activities. So what are these mga exercises, specific exercise na construct ang ato ang mga muscles? Best example here is kanang mga squats. Okay? Air climbing, those. Also natay mga example like bicep curl-ups, na sila push-ups or sit-ups. So those are best nga mga contraction activity that could develop or that could tone our muscle. Okay? And then as stated here, it is part of the basic activities for fat fit or physical education, which belongs to isotonic. Again, natin mga example like squat, stair climbing, kato sila bicep curl-ups, sit-ups, and then push-ups that are best in constructing our muscles para matone. And then isometric, so usually it's more on developing extra muscle strength. Okay? So what are these developing extra muscle strength? Usually ang atong mga activities ani is kailangan siya heavy. So for us to ma-achieve na to ang kaning dalirang development, we need to make sure nga mga activities is more into holding for a prolonged period of time. So it means kana siyang mga weightlifting, planking, side planking, side bridges, or even mga yogas, ng yoga position. So pwede na to siya ma-relate in the isometric na type of exercise. Again ha, these are mga activities in the isometric. These are mga activities that usually i-hold na to for a prolonged period of time or for a duration of time for us to be able to develop muscle extra strength. Okay. Next. Okay, want to read this third example? Anyone? Yes, Pastor Riza.
Aerobic exercise. This aims to develop flexibility which is achieved by intense body movements such as walking, running, jogging, and dancing. These activities are very important to the heart and lungs because fast breathing is experienced by doing the activities.
Okay, very good. So thank you, Mr. Pastoriza. So we have here more into developing flexibility. But aside from the flexibility class, so since naman siya yung mga intense na mga body movements, you expect na naapod siya yung mga big help with this. Katong na-mention, yung heart and lungs, our cardio, the maintenance and then the development of our cardio. So there are mga specific activities na mga intense activities na makapadevelop ana. So we have there the walking, running, jogging, but these are mga basic na example. But I'll just give you an additional para easy lang good for you to identify later on sa tuwang examination or quiz. Let's say additional is for the swimming, kana sila biking, cycling, rowing, or even katong mga other recreational activities that involves mga intense movement. So those are it here sa tuwang third na example, which is the aerobic exercise. Okay? So I hope easy lang for you to identify ha if there are situational or example na mga activities for this type of exercise. Okay? Okay, I'll give you example na lang, class. Asa man siya na belong when we say the term dancing?
Aerobic, sir.
Aerobic, sir.
Okay. Okay, good. 5 points. So when we say pulling, asa siya makuan? Pulling.
Isometric, sir.
Again, pulling. Okay, correct tong kaganiya, isometric. Okay, good. Yes, pulling. It's good. Okay na lang number 2, okay, kasi ma-mention ako ang kuan for the quiz. Okay, let's have, I guess this is the last part. The introduction of this fit, the frequency, intensity, type, and time principle. So usually magamit din nato class as a major nga mga output or I mean major nga topic for P1 and then P2. They usually mag-create magud ta ako na mention of fitness program. Okay? So ang katong fitness program, of course, with the help of this FIT principle, easy ra, dali ra kayo nato siya mahuman ang ato ang fitness program. So FIT stands for frequency, intensity, type, and time. But then again, we'll try to understand first what is this FIT. Unsa ni siya, sir? Is it a program or is it a guidelines? Is it a mechanics or is it a curriculum ang kaning FIT principle? Or it's just an indicator for this physical education? So let's read it here. Who wants to read this long description?
Alumba, sir.
Yes, alumba. Again?
Alumba, sir.
Alumba? I don't have alumba in my list. Are you late nga?
For the attendance, sir.
I mean, Alumba, your family name is Alumba?
Opo. Alumba, sir.
Wait, let me check first. Walay Alumba. What's the first letter? Ay, Ilumba? Sabi ko Alumba.
E, sir, E.
Tumakasya.
Naara, sir?
Yes. Ilumba, yes. Yes.
Okay, sir. May I
Yeah, you
start,
can start
sir?
now.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
These are the key factors in designing an exercise program that will address the current fitness level, provide means to overload the body, and trigger positive adaptations. These variables can be modified occasionally to consistently challenge the body to become stronger. It is important to remember that increasing workload should be done one variable at a time to prevent chronic injuries or overtraining. The proposed recommendations and conservative.
Okay, that's good. Thank you for that very clear readings. Miss Ilumba. Pabigyan ako Alumba.
Jud na
How
siya,
you
sir.
pronounce your name? How you pronounce your first name? Is it Vel Petcha?
Valley, sir, Valley.
Veli Petcha. Petcha?
Peach ka, sir.
Ay,
Valley
abi ko
peach ka.
Petcha. Oh, I know.
Peach ka,
Petcha.
sir.
Okay, what happened to this word? Okay, good. That's very cute name and then unique. Okay, good. Thank you for reading this. Very clear. So we have here, when we say fit principle class, it's more on what shall something mechanics or guidelines na or somehow what shall i-factor to consider nato nga para maka-create ta og program that is best in our level. Okay? Usually ga-address sila og ga-address ni ang kaning fit principle nga kung unsay mga appropriate, unsay mga bagay sa ato in our level. For example, beginners. So we have to make sure nga atong mga activities in our time repetitions is set only for beginners. Kaya dili man siya pwede nga mas kapuyon dayon after that more trainings, after that consecutive or continuous nga mga trainings. So dili siya pwede. We have to make sure nga ang level of our performance is appropriate to our body and then appropriate to our experience also. Okay? So we have here trigger positive adaptations, more into modified occasionally or too consistently. Yes. Okay, from the basic to consistent, I mean from that basic to spiral ng mga movement, dapat man naa siya yung mga changes. Na-mention ako ganiha, example is katong time in the quality of movement, na at least naa siya yung mga changes once ma-adapt na nato. For example, for this week, sir, okay, good kayo po ano siya for 50 kilometer run, makaya na ko siya for 30 seconds. So maybe next week, sir, akong aim is ako siyang pa-lower down ang time, which is 20 seconds nga ma-achieve lang na ko ang 50 kilometer run. So you practice and then time to time, kung naa siya yung mga changes or ma-adapt na nato, nga dili kayo ning ana siya ka exhaust ang ato ang body, or there are no mga muscle cramps or muscle pains right after the trainings. So we can progress our time, we can progress the repetitions. Okay? So it is important also to remember that increasing the workload should be done one variable at a time. Kato ko na-mention ganiya in the fit principles, it's always good nga to have this step-by-step process. Okay? Dili man siya pwede class nga mo jump lang ka automatic. For example, if you want, sir, gusto dito nga ma-develop dito ang ako ang tricep and bicep. So I want akong push up today 20 and then tomorrow is 100. No, dili siya pwede ning ana class. Okay? It's the same situation or scenario kung maingon ta nga I'm going to I want to go to the gym para, for example, mag-work out today and then you expect tomorrow nga 21 or 20 na lang imong waistline. So, dili siya ning ana class. Ang thinking is very negative. Okay? So, dili man na siya nimo siya automatic ma-achieve in just one lang run through sa mga activities. But it takes time. It takes a process for you to observe changes and of course para at least ma-feel nato ang mga development. Okay? So just to give you more justification on this fit principle, again, when we say fit principle class, I mean Yeah, when we say FIT principle, these are mga exercises prescription to help you understand how long and then how hard you should exercise. Okay, so additional here is it's one of the foundations of exercise. Usually set of guidelines that help you design a workout routine. So this is a guidelines, it's a kind of curriculum, so it's a kind of mechanics for you to follow. But what good lang sa ato ang subject or in my class kay naana na to yung mga format to follow. Okay? So all you have to do na lang is to fill out everything and then you set ng mga activities and then you choose activities na appropriate sa imong level. Okay? Dili man siya pwede nga mag-create og mga fitness program na kamo-kamo lang without guide. So that's it. Again, these are mga workout routine or design a workout routine to fit your fitness levels and goals. So unsa man ni siya ang rule of this FIT, kaning stands for frequency, intensity, type, and time. So usually kung for example, table siya, naka-table class. So just imagine na lang nga table siya. Natay tawag dito nga specific ng mga exercise or the making of your fitness program. Ma-include yun siya ang kaning FIT, frequency, intensity, type, and time. So we have therefore the frequency refers to how often. So when we say refers to how often, ikapila na to siya bukaton for that week. For example, 3 times a week, 4 times a week, or 5 times a week. For the frequency, we have to decide nga, sir, okay naman po, sir, na ako 30 minutes allowance or available time for me to do the task every day, but at least productive and then energetic and then mas mentally alert and then relax ng akong body. So I wanted 5 times a week. Oh, that's okay. So dili man na siya requirement na whole day, every day. So you can have it 20 minutes or 10 minutes para good ang ato ang body, condition ang ato ang body. So we have is the intensity, number 2. So it describes how hard. So this time class, we need to identify talaga and then we have to make sure na ang atong level of, level of our activities or level of effort nga atong mahatag is good lang for that specific na activity. For example, you belong to the light or for the beginner, moderate, or vigorous. So usually there are mga difference between these 3, vigorous, moderate, and light. Dili man siya pwede nga, for example, katong 50-kilometer run na siya, running event or in the athletics. So maybe ang light is ma-achieve na mo ang 50-kilometer run for 30 seconds. Ang moderate is for 20 seconds. And then ang vigorous is for 10 seconds. Usually kani mga vigorous or katong mga athletes na yun or those nga gaka-adapt na nila ang kaninga activity. So you set, maybe you can set or your target is ma-achieve mo automatic in 10 seconds, makumani mo ang 50-kilometer run. So that's okay. So moderate is, napo siya yung mga corresponding, again, time and repetitions class that justify every intensity or every, kung asa ka na category. Okay? And then for the time, it measures how long you spend being physically active during your daily routine. It means by trainings man siya class, dili man siya pwede nga i-overall nimo. For example, ang time, sir, maybe mag-spend ko ani for 1 hour. So dili siya pwede class. For example, in that specific na activity, maka-spend lang gana of 3 minutes or 2 minutes. So that's enough. So in the making of fitness program, we have to be specific. For that exercise, you have to make sure nga kabalo ka kung pila lang ka time ay mo ma-spend ana. Okay? So para guided din mo and then dili siya pwedeng exhausted mo after sa inyong training. So we have the last, the type, describing what kind of activity you choose. Now, for the type class, we have to be specific in this part. We have to make sure na appropriate yun siya and then term yun siya of that trainings or drills or maybe exercise na itong i-mention. For example, kaning weightlifting, biking. So maybe sa weightlifting, ato lang siyang i-include 3 times a week. And then light lang ato for beginner nga intensity. And then ang ato ang time aning weightlifting is maybe mga 1 minute. So for beginner, 1 minute or mga 30 seconds. Pero it depends also sa ato ang kilogram ha. Dili man siya pwede nga katong pang Hidilyn Diaz dito. Okay? Do you know Hidilyn Diaz, class?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I believe you're familiar with her. She's our gold medalist in the Olympic Games. So, just like that. So, start dito with the beginner if nag-set tao mga pang-light ka yung mga time. So, that's for the type. If specific siya with the household chores, so if there are mga other na recreational activities, so you have to be specific the name. Okay? So, that's it. That's justify this frequency, intensity, type, and time suggestions for becoming fit. Okay? So did I give you clear discussions in this part, class? Do you have questions or somehow difficulty in understanding the term? Let me know. None? Again, did I give you clear discussion on this part, class?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. I believe there are no mga questions kay it's clear man in the presentation. So aside from the term, is na po tayo mga description and then examples na akong bikang mention. So that's it. So you expect in your examination and then later on with our quiz, so na tayo mga part there or I mean terms to remember. Again, just a recap. So same year po ni siya class, we can search this one in the YouTube or maybe in the Google. So na naman niya ito ang mga topics uploaded already in the internet. So we have the movement itself in the PATFIT or the physical activity towards and fitness. Dili siya katong movement education class ha. Okay, when we say movement education, so that's a very broad and then very general ang ilang mga topics. We will only focus on the physical education part which is makonsider na ito ang movement and then there are mga qualities, concepts. Ato sila, there are types of exercise also included there na ang fit principles. And then under those 4 kabuk ng movement concept is na siya yung mga sub-areas or subtopics to remember. So that's it. Questions? So we can proceed now to the announcement for your examination and some other details. Do you have questions? Violent reaction? By the way, na yung mga extension sa inyong mga activities. Okay, let me see. There are skill sticks. I don't know what happened to these sticks. But I can see there are 19 majority. That's good. This is graded already. 23. By the way, you inform me kay basig kaning 3 or either 6 mga dili na ga-join sa inyong other nga subjects so that I can remove them. Okay? Para walay red marks sa ato ang classroom. But for those wala pa kayo sila or wala pa na aware that you have to comply all the missing activities, you can still comply. I did not close the submission for this, but once lang nato siya. Okay, isa lang nato siya ma-access. Okay? So if you want na, or maybe if you're asking, nga, sir, can I still comply? Yes, you can still comply. Ayun na siya pagta nga finals na dear. Okay? Do you have questions, class? Pharmacy?
Katong slides nimo sir i-post to nimo sa classroom.
Dili siya dear. Dili. No. Okay, this is not my slide manggod. Na-share lang siya sa kuha din if I'm going to give this to other nga mga editors. So, makakasabaan ta. Okay? So again, just remember lang the terms there. I give you already the pointers. And then, na to siya latanan relate sa internet. Okay? So by the way, for your exam class, again, I'm not that strict in checking your permit. Kaya I guess maugin na siya ito ang mga important kayo nga requirement for every exam. So just make sure lang when we reach the final term, so make sure na masettle na nato ito ang mga accounts. Okay? For me to easily upload your grades sa Automate. But na natin yung mga grades class. Okay? All you have to do lang is to secure that permit. Okay? And then for the exam, you wait lang yapon class when tamag when siguro or yes I guess Wednesday, still Wednesday, but I don't know kung nabay changes sa time. You want 7 or 9? Diba, sige, i-change to 7 a.m. Which is which man? You want it 7 a.m. mga tuwang exam or 9?
9 ra guro, sir. Sa'yo ra kay
Okay, sa iyo ra kayo. But pharmacy students, you have to prepare yourself, diba, say, mag face-to-face na in sooner or later. So, kasi mag face-to-face na kay warag something na yung mga nanga-approvahan. So, yes, lagi mga early nga mga classes. But I believe you're inspired man and then motivated to study if it is face-to-face kay mas more engaging siya. Okay, I hope you're ready on that. Okay, so that's it. So that's all for, I guess, our discussion. Maybe I will post na this one, but I'm going to... Yes.
Sir, what time ang due date aning quiz na nimo? Sir.
Ako siyang i-extend here until 9:30 a.m. today. Dili na makaya kung 9, exact 9.
Oh, sir, kay naang may klase after this, exactly 9, sir, chemistry. So, if...
Okay. By the way, do not worry, there are only 15 questions each set. There are only 15 questions every set. This is just a practice assessment for you. Okay. This is very short, only nga quiz. 15 lang siya kabuok class. So I posted it already. Maybe you can access na. So wait, what's the time I give this? 9:30. So if there are no mga questions, again, you wait lang. I believe I have complete ng mga instruction man put in your stream every time nga natin mga announcement. So be sure to visit that one, especially this weekend. I'm going to post the exact time and then when is the date sa ato ang examination. Okay? So I guess that's all for today. So nahatag mo na ato ang mga pointers, and then if there are no mga questions, if there are mga personal concerns or questions, you can drop a message or give me a private message here sa atong email. Okay? And then I guess wala na. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your attendance today.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Duwa gini ka quiz, sir, no? Ang one run today.
Yes, very short lang, just for the assessment. Okay?
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, good. So it's for you para ma-familiar. And then, by the way, also you have to study the questions and then options there. Kaya I might duplicate lang. Sige, duplicate lang akong idea in your midterm examination. Usually na yung mga way of doing mga exams like that. Okay? So you consider nga a last quiz na to today. So that's it. There are no mga questions. You can now access. I'll give you time. I'll extend until 40 minutes to take this 2 quiz. Okay? So thank you for joining. Thank you for your attendance there, for answering the question in the comment box. So if there are no mga concerns, you can now leave and then access the activity in the classwork. Thank you for joining. God bless everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you, sir. Goodbye, sir.
Thank you, sir.
God bless, sir.
Ilong.